All right, so we are going ahead and get started, and we're going to be back in 30 seconds, you guys. So get yourself together. Hey, so welcome to another day of my AuthorTube tour. I'm so glad that you all are deciding to join me at this hour. I know many of you have other things that you can really be doing, but much love and kudos to you. I thank you so very much. And look, we have a special guest on today. I am so excited to have this wonderful author, and we're going to later on allow her to introduce herself even more. But you know how we do it. We're going to take this moment as people are gathering in, as they are getting their food, as they're getting their tea, as they're getting whatever, the pens. Make sure you get your pen. Make sure you get your notepad, because I want you to be able to take copious amounts of notes. Because if you have watched if you're binge watching, you know this AuthorTube tour has been packed full of juicy information that is going to get you unstuck, help you to become the greatest writer that you can become, and realize your I can in, purpose, as my book says, in purpose, book, and family. But it's not about me today. It is about our lovely author and how she makes it as a writer, right? So that's what our topic is for today, is making it as a writer. But before we jump off into that, we're going to take a little bit of time and kind of relax and, allow this atmosphere to really become the atmosphere that I like for it to have. We're going to charge it up. So get your dance moves together. You guys know how I like to dance. We like to move. We like to, uh-oh. And if you can't dance like me, if you just have one move, that's okay. I like to do this. You know me. Hey, there we go. And we can swim. If you know how to swim, we can swim a little bit. And we're just going to party, because I want you all to be comfortable. I want you all to be excited. I want you all to feel a part in any way possible. So we're just going to make it happen just a little bit. Tell your girlfriend, tell your guy friend that we are live, okay? I'm excited about this. I don't know how excited you are. Obviously, pretty excited because you joined, right? So another thing I would like for you to do is go ahead and in the comments, let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know your state. Let me know your city. Let me know anything that you would like for me to know, as far as that is not just too personal, okay? Because I don't want anybody to try to come and, let's keep it safe. And if you are a business or a ministry that is joining in today, let me know that as well. I want to send you some mad love, mad shout out. And we're going to get started in just a few. We're going to get one more dance move in, okay? Oh, we was voguing earlier. That's it. We're here to have fun. We are here to take the pressure off of writing and everything that is circulating writing. So we're going to be talking about some real stuff in a little while, okay? So you really want to make sure that you are prepared. So just loosen up. Don't be all stuck up. Don't be all sedity, acting like you can't type in the comments and respond. We are here to share, and we're here to just glean from one another, okay? And if you have any questions, raise that virtual hand. Just type it in the questions in the comment, and we will be sure to answer those questions. Even if it's the replay, we're going to come back and we're going to answer those questions. I'm going to make sure I reach out to every author that has been on, that I've been, in conversation with, to answer the questions that you have. All right. I think that's enough dancing. A few more seconds. Just a few more seconds. 5, 4, 2, 1. Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you feel relaxed and I hope that you are ready to dig in to today's topic, making it as a writer. And like I said, I have a very special guest with me on today. You guys, I follow her. I love her posts. I love her emails. She gives some very, very useful tips, hacks, real life, strategies to making it, as a writer, the way that she does it in her field and her expertise. So we're going to talk about it all. We're just going to let down our hair. I think I was already, but we're going to let down our hair and we're just going to dig into the conversation. Okay. So I'm going to allow my guest to introduce herself a little bit more and tell us who she is, what she's all about. And yeah.
So, hi everyone. My name is Aisha Taylor, and I am a writer, author, blogger. Love writing, right? And so, really, what I do is I work with single women facing unplanned pregnancies to just help them to navigate their pathway forward. Hence, the title of the book, "Navigating the Impossible," because it's not really impossible, and also helping them to manage it financially, emotionally, building that support system and really showing them how they can walk in purpose and thrive even in motherhood as an unexpected single mom. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you so much. I hope you guys are hearing this. She is like full of wisdom, full of expertise, and I want us to really pick her brain in this few minutes that we have together. And so, what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a 30 seconds break. Because I know you have to readjust. I know you wasn't really for this type of content on today, but we're going to be heavy on today. So go ahead and get your pen and your pencil if you haven't, and then meet us back here in 30 seconds. All right, for those of you who do not know me, and if this is your first time, go ahead and put in the comments below. This is my first time. I'm a newbie. I'm a virgin. Whatever you want to say. And everyone who has been joining along in this AuthorTube tour, go ahead and let us know if this is your second week or your first week, however you've been joining along. And welcome all of our first timers on today. Let them know that you're appreciative that they are in the room and that they're going to make this event even more successful. And if you don't know me, my name is Christy Angeli. I am the successful Titan single mom, transformative speaker, biblical business growth strategist, personal shelf, and author. I am known for empowering BIPOC single moms to reclaim their life, change their story, transform their life, and live their utopia. Okay, so as stated, we are going to talk about some really, really heavy stuff here on this afternoon so that you can make it as a writer. That's my whole focus on today, is sharing with you hurdles and challenges, victories, joys, so that you can see where you are. You're not in this place by your alone. You're not in this space alone, that there have been other people who have, walked this path. They have overcome challenges or overcoming challenges. And we're here to be that support. We are here to help you make it happen. And there is one thing that Aisha said that really caught my attention, and that was unexpected. Being an unexpected single mom. Let's talk about that. And as in your journey as making it as a writer.
You know what's so interesting? It's so funny because I was an unexpected single mom, right? So here I was, quit my six-figure job to become a full-time entrepreneur. And at that time, I was leaving corporate. I have a corporate finance background. So I left corporate, was building a business in terms of personal finances, really working with single women to transform their finances because I had dug myself out of debt. And it just was really at a not good place financially, even though I was making a lot of money. And I was able to transform my finances, really dealing with the emotional root of how I spent my finances and really losing myself and trying to prove myself financially. It led me to almost going broke back then. And so as I started to learn more about money, I just started to share it in a blog, hence the writing, right? I just started to create this little blog, right? I just wanted to share what I was learning, because I was in a course for personal financial planning. So I have my certificate in personal financial planning. So I just wanted to know how to manage my own money better. Started sharing it in a blog, and it's so funny because I was like, I no one can possibly be reading this, right? And so I just stopped posting on the blog. I'm like, no one's reading this. And I started to get emails and text messages from people like, I haven't seen you post in a while. And I'm like, you guys read this? They're like, yeah, it's actually really helpful. I'm like, my little finance tips are helpful. I was just sharing what I learned because I thought it was cool. Because I think finances are cool. So, but, and so that's really how it got started. And then somebody suggested that I turn it into something more. It ended up being a personal financial book. And that book ended up being a number one Amazon bestseller in this category. And it just took off from there in terms of me doing and creating courses for other organizations developing their personal finance curriculum. It just like took off. And so it's so interesting that we're talking about writing right now, because that's really where everything got started for me, just sharing what I learned. And so when I became an unexpected single mom, through an unplanned pregnancy, I ended up pregnant unexpectedly, and my twins dad. So yes, I'm a single mom of twins. So my twins dad tried to force me to have an abortion, and then when I said no, he turned verbally abusive towards me, and ultimately walked out when I was 4 months pregnant. And so here I am. I just quit my job to become a six-figure entrepreneur, and everything about my life just fell apart. It was not what I planned it was going to be, because I had everything mapped out. I don't know if you're like me, but I had all my milestones and everything mapped out about what everything was
Wow.
going to look like. And it was nothing like that. And so when my kids were about a year and a half, so I ended up pretty soon after they were born, maybe within 6 months or so after they were born, I just felt the Spirit of the Lord telling me to switch my focus from single women to single moms. Because at that point, because the emotions that I was struggling with, my finances began to be impacted, because a lot of people don't realize the emotional connection between finances, with your finances. And so I just found myself struggling, even though I was the expert, right? I had been working with people, developing curriculum, been featured in a number of national publications. I found myself struggling, and I was embarrassed. And so I just felt the Lord saying, look, if you're having a hard time and you have an MBA in finance, you have an economics degree, you have a corporate finance background, you've been coaching and teaching personal finances for years, you have the certificate in financial planning. If you're struggling as a new single mom, how is everybody else feeling? And so, even though I was embarrassed, I started to shift more to shift my focus to single moms. And it's interesting because as I just started blogging, right, the blogging eventually turned into a book. The Navigating the Impossible of Survival Guide for Single Moms from Pregnancy through the First Year of Motherhood. And during that time, I just started to document what I was going through, documenting the emotional roller coaster, documenting the financial challenges, and documenting how I built a support system, and documenting how I was overcoming the challenges that I was facing and being an unexpected single mom and with little kids, right? Because I've done it the single mom way, the whole time. And that book and that documentation, which I literally just thought it was going to be a blog series, it turned into nearly a 500-page book, literally a manual helping single women who are facing unplanned pregnancies how to move forward from the pregnancy stage all the way through the first year of motherhood. So I like to call it how they land right, land whole, right? Because how we start off our single motherhood journey impacts how we're going to impact our kid, how we're going to parent our kids. It impacts our finances, and it impacts the trajectory of our lives. I ended up dealing with 3 years of depression because I could not get over the hurt and the shame and the guilt that I had felt from their dad walking out. And my goal was, I just didn't want anybody to deal with the same thing. And I know that no one really goes into single motherhood planning it. Like, somehow either a relationship broke up, a divorce happened, or widowhood happened, right? So there was something that caused it. And so what happens? How do you move forward after that happens? How do you not lose everything? How do you not become emotionally broken? And that was really what I was aiming at with that book, to be able to help other women not encounter and deal with what I had gone through. And I figured that, the Bible says, it's either in Revelations 14, 16, somewhere around there. It said, we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. And what I didn't realize it back then is I was documenting my testimony of overcoming. So that way it can be a pathway for other people who are in this situation, because people get pregnant all the time, right? So how is it that they don't end up as broke and broken, right?
Listen, I do not know if you guys are catching all of this, the different layers that she had to maneuver through to become, making it as a writer. And we often look at making it as a writer, and I didn't want to approach this from a success, as in, oh, I'm selling all these books and I'm really, bringing in the money, but the process of making it as a writer and what that looks like to each individual, what that looks like to, Aisha, or what that looks like to myself or other people that may be making it as a writer, and how they are interpreting the challenges that they are faced with making it as a writer. Because a lot of people stop before they even start. They think about the book, but then they stop. They don't even put the pen to paper because of, one, they may not know, as she stated earlier, which caught my attention, was that she was writing a blog on finances, but stopped because she didn't feel as if anybody really cared. How many of you feel that way, that nobody cares either way? Who's really reading what I'm talking about? Who's really, invested into what I'm sharing to help them become a better, steward over their finances? And so she stopped. Have you stopped doing anything because you thought about what other people are not doing? And then she only to find out that she was being so impactful. Like, we miss, because the enemy, one, can present some false negative before us, can make us feel as if no one is really caring. We may have our call to actions at the end of our blogs, and we tell them, hey, leave me a comment if this resonates with you. And no one leaves a comment. But after you stop writing, then all the comments, where were you 5 months ago when I wrote this? 2 weeks
Right.
ago? Where were you a day ago when I said to leave a comment? Are those some things? What can you attest to that? Is that
Yes, it's true.
going
It's true. I was just like, I'm not getting it. Because at the time I didn't have any, like, autoresponder like type system. I didn't have ConvertKit. I didn't have any of that. So I literally had my Gmail account, and I had like a whole bunch of, the BCC file a lot.
yes.
So I didn't want anybody to know each other's email addresses. So I was literally like, had these people's emails typed into Gmail, and I was just sending it from my Gmail account, my
Wow.
personal Gmail account. And that's how I said it. I'm like, I wasn't getting any emails back. Like, this is good. I wasn't getting any comments. I wasn't getting any replies. I wasn't getting anything. I'm like, nobody's paying attention to this. Like, why am I sending this in from my Gmail every week? Right. And it turned out they were. And and one of the things I want you guys to understand as well is, if you notice, I said little, right? I said, who's reading my little blog, right? So I minimized what it was that I was doing. And so sometimes and you probably heard it, Chrissy, as well, where people are like, oh, my little business, oh, my little blog. Like, don't say little, because you're minimizing what you have. You're minimizing the gift God has given you. You're minimizing your purpose. It's not little. It might feel like no one's paying attention right now, but it's not little. It's
Exactly.
huge in the eyes of God. It's huge when you impact even just one person. So don't minimize what it is that you do.
Exactly. And being good steward over what you have, being good steward over that story that God gave you, that
Mhm.
story that has happened through your pain, through those unexpected, challenges and situations that you're finding yourself, as her book says, navigating, navigating the impossibles, navigating the never in my wildest dreams,
Mhm.
whatever you're navigating right now. That's your story. As she's, man, I'm telling you, this has been like so full of great information already that we could just pick through this. She was talking on even documenting, making sure because some people, like I spoke about, earlier on through my journey of, writing, it was, I have writer's block. I got writer's block. That was something that I faced. And then I'm hearing other people saying there's no such thing as block. And then I was in school, in culinary school, and one of the assignments that we had to do was write every day. It didn't matter what we wrote, just write something down. And it was working through those, what we call writer's block, because it's just our passageways become stopped. But if you just freely write, it'll start opening up creativity again. And so her documenting every day was like a gateway to unlock what could have been a hindrance to her flow. And she ended up with 500 pages.
I was shocked. I was like, what?
500 pages. I'm shocked.
And let me tell you this. Let me tell you this too, because when this just reminded me of something. I remember when I told people initially that the book was 500 pages, people were like, "It's no way you can release that as is. You need to break it up into three." And so people were challenging me, and I had coaches advising me, like, break it up into three different books because no one is going to read 500 pages.
Wow.
And I got to the point where I was like crying, right? Because I was mourning my book. I was mourning the vision that God gave me. I was like, well, maybe he just had me write everything at once. So then that way it was already done, right? And then I ended up just sitting with God, just in prayer. And I could just feel him say, no, how he gave it to me is how he gave it to me.
Right.
And to release it as is, don't break it up. And when we become writers, I think it's important to have coaches, it's important to have mentors, but we have to remember the ultimate mentor is God who gave you that vision. And so, even if it makes no sense to other people while you're doing it the way you're doing it, be true to the vision that God has given you. And so, I can't imagine what that book would have looked like. Somebody was just like, because half the book is finances, of course, right? Because I love finances. And so somebody was like, well, though, half the book, you can have a whole 250-page book just on finances. Why don't you just release the finance part and then kind of cut it up? Because really, part of the book can deal with all single moms. Part of it's more for single moms in the beginning. And I had to really ask God, I'm like, God, are you calling me to break this book up like this? Are you calling me to chop it up? Because I thought that you gave me this vision to be able to help these moms who are literally in this position where they feel like all hope is lost. Because if you have ever experienced an unplanned pregnancy, if you have ever experienced somebody walking out on you just as a single mom, period, but even during that time of pregnancy, it can just feel like your whole world is collapsing in front of you. You're pregnant, your body's changing, like everything just seems like it makes no sense. And it's hard to move forward. I remember there were times where I just sat, I pulled the blinds closed to make my room as dark as possible, picked the darkest corner in my room and curled up in the fetal position and rocked back and forth in the fetal position and cried for hours. And I said, when somebody is in that space, they don't just need to know how to fix their finances. They don't just need to know how to build their support system. They don't need to just know how to diaper or breastfeed. They need to know how they can get from the ground to the floor and from that floor in the fetal position to being able to run and have joy. And that's what that book does.
Wow.
It takes them on that whole entire journey from the cry to the joy after. And it would lose its effect if I would have broken it up. But I had to be comfortable with the vision that God gave me. And I had to be comfortable with the mission that God gave me because I was just like, I don't want to keep talking about this painful time in my life 8 years ago. I don't live there anymore. And somebody said that it's not that you have to keep talking about it. You're no longer there anymore to be a vessel of light for somebody else who is. And I think that that's the thing that we need to get comfortable with in our stories. And sometimes, even as authors, especially when you're sharing a personal story like that, sometimes there are people who almost are like the villains of the story, for lack of a better word, right? The opposition. And I really don't mean it like villains, but you know what I mean, right? And you don't want to, I mean, I don't want to make him look bad. Like,
I know.
I don't want to do that. And, and I'm like,
But
I thought
the
about how
story
this.
has that though.
Hmm.
Look at our everyday life. We have villains. We have,
Yeah.
so if that's just so happened the character he's playing, then hey,
Right. It is what it is. And
it
we have to
is.
be comfortable with it,
Mhm.
because our testimony is going to let somebody else free. It's going to set somebody else free. And so there's so many challenges like that we need to be able to overcome. And I also advise people, like, if you're going to be a writer, if you're embarking on this path, go to therapy too, because there are going to be certain parts of the journey that really trigger you. And you need to be able to work through that in a safe, healthy, manner.
Awesome. Everything, I'm like right there with you. I'm like, I love it. And I hope everyone is really taking notes, because you may find yourself in a fetal position mentally, spiritually. You may not be literally on the floor, but you may be balled up to where you don't even, in a dark place. She talked about being a dark, she closed herself off in a dark place. You may be closing yourself off in a dark place, but the things that she had to do in order to rise out of that dark place. Tell me about, and we have a few minutes left, tell me about how making it as a writer and having twins. Well, like, how did you find time to write? What does that look like? What was your organization like? How many hours a day? Because we have people that are going to like, well, but she got a whole twins. I'm trying to let you guys know. Okay. You don't just have one, you have two that you have to feed at the same time or put on schedules they make.
Mhm.
And it's a lot different when you just have two kids but they may be at different ages. So let's talk about that.
It's interesting because when my kids were really little, back before they were as mobile, back before they got really mobile, so I really took advantage of their nap time. And
Okay.
so, but the thing is, with nap, what I had to do is I did a self check in first. If I needed to nap when they were napping, mama was napping.
Okay.
Okay. But the other thing is I'm blessed to have an amazing support system. My parents are amazing. And so when I was writing the book, when my dad would get home from work, he would watch the kids for me. Or my mom would watch the kids for me, and I would go to the coffee shop for a couple of hours, and I would just write and for a couple of hours, and then I would come back. And so for me, I did a lot of writing at the coffee shop, when my dad was off of work. And so I was, at that time, just a full-time entrepreneur. I actually work part-time now, but actually doing something that I love. It was so
Yeah.
amazing. Like, I ended up stumbling upon this part-time job as I was promoting my book. And it was
Oh, wow.
amazing. So now
Yeah.
I get to work with, like, just women just all the time, and it's so much of a
Mhm.
joy. And I want to say this too: allow yourself to pivot. We might have our plans for what we are going to do, because I was just totally full-time entrepreneur for years, and this amazing opportunity came up for me to work with pregnant women, and I was just like,
Wow.
this is God. Like, I get
Yeah.
to just be there and walk with women. Just, it's amazing, right?
Mhm.
And so, that was a total aside, right? But anyway, I had
Needed.
a schedule. And I had a great support system, and I had people who were willing to watch my kids for when I did it. And the other points in time when I would write as well was when my kids went to sleep. But I also had to be aware that self check in. If I was exhausted, I went to sleep. But I had dedicated time throughout the day, when my parents could watch the kids, for me to be able to, um, get away for a couple hours to write.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Listen, I encourage each and every person just to go back and watch the replay, because you will hear all the time something, another layer, another nugget that you can glean from, that you can pull from, that she has been talking on. And I'm actually going to pull from this myself and just start sharing even more on things that we go through, or we making it as a writer what it looks like. She talked about abuse, verbal abuse. She talked about depression. She spoke on finances, a big deal of finances, because we often look at, okay, do I have the means to write or to publish my book? We jump ahead, we jump the gun instead of just taking it one day at a time. And so that can be a big hurdle for a lot of people to not even start writing, because they look at, how much it's going to take for me to write the book. And they already self-sabotage and doubt themselves even before they start. So any other things that you would like to leave with, if there is one thing that you can share that really helped you to make it as a writer. We just lost Aisha, but we're going to start back when she comes on. So I hope you guys are really gleaning and really learning and writing notes and take it, like, where you are is where you are for a reason. And do not doubt your process. Do not doubt your journey. Don't become so frustrated. As I said earlier on today with someone I was talking to, I said, things are not happening to you. They are happening for you. So they're not happy. Oh, don't be the victim. You are not the victim. All things are working together for your good. So even as you're making it as a writer, all things are working for your good. And take all of this and use it for your story, use it for your purpose, use it for your assignment. And you never know how God is going to order your steps, because that's the end all game, is allowing God to order our steps, especially if we are believers, allowing him to order our steps. So what is one last takeaway that you would tell any novice writer, up and coming writer, those that thinking about writing? What is something that you would love that you normally share with others?
You know what? It's not something I normally share. Well, maybe I've written about this a couple of times, but this is the first thing that came through my mind, and it's kind of a story. So I remember hearing this story. I think Les Brown said this quote. He said that the richest place in the world is the graveyard, because that's where all the great ideas and things that would have changed the world went to die. And it really stuck out to me. And Christy, as you asked me, what's one last thing I want to say? What I want to say is, don't let your book be in the graveyard. Like, God gave you that story for a reason. God gave you that idea for a reason. It's to get it out. And so sometimes we can wait for things to be perfect. Sometimes we could resist because of fear. But somebody is waiting on the transformation that you have. Even if it's a fiction book, right? Don't minimize the fiction book. People like entertainment, right? If it's a movie script, that's still writing. Write it. It doesn't matter if no one sees it, right? When you get it, revise it, right? Keep tweaking it, or write something else and keep going until it works. But we'll never know the potential that something has. We'll never know the reach that something can have, and we never will know the impact that something will have if we allow our ideas to die in the graveyard.
Powerful. And that is our time, you guys. Listen, I know that you're seeing across the screen how you can get this book. I want you to get Navigating the Impossible. And there's the link at the bottom of the screen. Is there how else can we connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can connect with me on Instagram at FNPhenomenal. I also have a YouTube channel at Aisha J. Taylor. So you can connect with me on YouTube. I update it twice a week. Or you can head over to the blog, FNPhenomenal.com. Pick up the book, Navigating the Impossible, a survival guide for single moms from pregnancy through the first year of motherhood. You can find it on www.FNPhenomenal.com, or you can go to the book page, navigatingtheimpossiblebook.com, or you can email me. Like, if you have questions, if you want me to elaborate on something more, email me at hello@FNPhenomenal.com.
If you have enjoyed author Aisha, please let her know. Leave her some love. Go ahead and follow her. Go ahead and get her book. Let her know that we are so grateful for her just being in our presence and enlightening us even more and empowering us even more with her go through, with her story and her victories, her successes. So again, you guys know how we do it. We're going to leave out the same way we came in. We're just going to get a little dance in. Ah, don't do it to them, baby. They're not ready. They're not ready. I'm just,
Did you ever
you
watch
know.
Living Single?
Yes.
You remember Sinclair used to always go like this?
Always do. Yes, she did. That was hers. That's it. Are y'all ready? All right.
We were sitting like we weren't sitting. We could do the running man. We can pretend like we're standing up.
And again, thank you so much for joining this AuthorTube. And I love you all, and I cannot wait to see you Saturday. Okay, so you guys have a great weekend.